Friday night marked 19 years ago when tragic events transpired on September 11th, 2001. But we still had football games to be played even after Southeastern Ohio teams held that moment of silence. We are in week 3 of games, halfway through the season, and the 7-4-0 zone starts right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 7-4-0 Zone. I'm your host, Jacob Murray, and we had a good slate of games coming at you in our Week 3 coverage. We had our Game of the Week as voted on by the fans in Logan and Warren, and then we had a classic game that went right down to the wire in Licking Valley and Granville. But we start off at Boston Field in Nelsonville-York, where the Buckeyes took on the Megs Marauders. And look, this was definitely a tale of two different teams coming into this one. On one hand, you have the Megs Marauders who come in on 2-0 following the strength of their hot start by their quarterback, Coulter Cleveland. But on the other hand, the Buckeyes have struggled on offense out of the gate as quarterback Drew Carter has thrown 7 interceptions in the first 2 games. Both of these teams are ready to go, and anything can happen in TVC Ohio play, and that is definitely what we saw on Friday night. The Buckeye rushing attack was on full display from the opening kickoff of this game. Kobe Bennington scored 2 touchdowns along with Colton Snyder as well, getting in the end zone 2 times. Quarterback Drew Carter took it with his legs once as well, and that would be most of their offensive attack on the night was on the ground. A very different story than it was last week when they threw the ball as much as they did. Now on the other side, there were some good moments for Megs and there were some bad moments for Megs. They had a lot of good throws. They had a couple touchdown throws from Coulter Cleveland, but in the end, the turnovers were killing this team all night long, turning the ball over 4 times all night. And of course, in the third quarter, on this play right here, Coulter Cleveland running down the sideline, and he gets taken down on his throwing shoulder. He would have to leave the game after that, and he would not return in this one. So we will be hoping for the best wishes and recoveries for him. Hopefully he can be back out there next week because we know it is very important in the shortened season to get it done. But on the Buckeyes side of things, I talked with Coach Rusty Richards after the game, and we had a little discussion about how the season has played out and how we can improve as we head to the final stretch of this shortened season.
Yeah, I think tonight was probably the closest complete game we've played so far. You know, Trimble, awful first half, about first 2.5 quarters. Then we played good there for about 12 minutes, and last week we played good till the last 4 minutes of the game. We just had some miscues. Yeah. I felt like we played more, 4 quarters. So, and when we do that, we could be pretty good.
Buckeyes will hopefully look to carry that momentum next week when they take on a tough opponent in the Benton County Vikings, while the Megs Marauders will look to bounce back and hopefully have quarterback Coulter Cleveland for their game against the Warren Warriors. The Buckeyes will hopefully look to carry that momentum next week when they take on a tough opponent in the Benton County Vikings, while the Megs Marauders will look to bounce back and hopefully have quarterback Coulter Cleveland for their game against the Warren Warriors. Now we take a small trip down Route 33 to catch the Athens Bulldogs in a matchup after their loss last week against Benton County. They face an old conference rival in Marietta, and reporter Brian Kerp is there in the plains to catch all the action. Brian, how did this game play out from start to finish?
Yeah, Jacob, the Tigers and Bulldogs haven't played each other since 2007, and Athens is actually trying to end a 4-game skid against the Tigers on its senior night. But Marietta took early control in this one. On the opening drive, the Tigers bust out the big play. Reese Gerber airs one deep to Tony Munoz to put Marietta on the board. Later that quarter, Munoz gets the handoff on a jet sweep and extends the ball over the goal line just before he hits the turf. All Tigers early on, they added another touchdown in the second to go up 18-0.
Yeah, it really looked like Marietta was going to run away with this one. Did the Athens offense ever get anything going?
Well, it was certainly a slow start for the Bulldogs, but after blocking a punt, they finally got on the scoreboard as Peyton Gale breaks one to the outside and sneaks inside the pylon. Maybe a potential momentum swing, but guess who? It's Tony Munoz again. On the final play of the half, he takes the jet sweep in to put Marietta up 24-8 at the break. And whatever Athens head coach Nathan White told his team at the half, it seemed to work because the Bulldogs controlled most of the second half. Late in the third, Joey Moore coughs up the football, but Braxton Springer is Johnny on the spot and falls on it in the end zone, making it 24-14. In the fourth, Joey Moore isn't losing the football this time, and he also isn't losing the foot race to the end zone. 24-20, 5 minutes left. Athens gets a 4th down stop deep and gets one last chance at a miracle. After a few backwards laterals, Peyton Gill finds a bit of open field. He has no one in front of him, but is eventually tripped up at the 35-yard line by a defender as time expires. Marietta prevails with a 24-20 victory.
So this is obviously a thrilling game, but how was Marietta able to pick up win number 1 on this season?
I think the biggest key was all-state wide receiver Tony Munoz. In the first half on Friday, he put on an offensive clinic and showed why he's an all-state wide receiver. Munoz not only made an impact as a receiver, but also as a runner. 2 of his 3 touchdowns came off the jet sweep, and Marietta used that play quite a bit with them. Munoz had 6 rushing attempts for 39 yards, but let's not sleep on his receiving abilities, as he caught 8 passes for 95 yards. Overall, that's 134 all-purpose yards. A big night for him, but that monster first half of his made it tough for Athens to fully make a comeback.
He's pretty stinking good. I'm not just saying that because he's standing right here. But he's a kid that we talked about all week. When he gets the ball in his hands, it's a little bit more. And so I think he had 9 touches in the first two possessions. He did a good job finishing out the drives and getting into them for us.
Coach wanted me to get the ball in my hands more, so I took advantage of it. My teammates blocked for me, and I did the rest. And pretty much it.
Tigers will look to carry that momentum into next week when they take on Parkersburg, while the Athens Bulldogs will have their toughest TVC Ohio opponent to date when they take on the Wellesley Golden Rockets at Joe Burrow Stadium. Thanks for the good work, Brian. Now we head over to Belpre, where the Golden Eagles had to deal with not only the Trimble Tomcats this week, but an abrupt coaching change. 740 Zone reporter Nick Henthorne catches up on the switch that happened during this past week.
The Belpre Golden Eagles finished 5-5 last season and were looking to improve upon that this year in what was going to be Coach Mike Duvall's 3rd year at the helm. However, just weeks before the season kicked off, Coach Duvall would step down from his position and assistant coach Lance Binniger would be named the new head coach.
You know, I got a call at 3:30, and for me to become the interim head coach, I need to be there by 4:30, and here I am.
Coach Duvall said over a phone interview that there were multiple reasons behind him stepping down. A combination of age and blood pressure problems led him to make the decision to take a step back from the team. While the transition was on short notice, Duvall said the move had been in the works for a while, and that was the reason he had named Binniger assistant head coach going into the offseason.
It was a smooth transition. I'm sure everyone knows he was brought in as an assistant coach, so we got to know him from the jump. And then it slowly trickled down. We slowly realized that coach was taking a back seat, and the assistant coach, Binniger, was stepping up in a leadership role. And he does a great job. He loves the kids. We love him. The transition was very smooth.
I made them change it, so we've actually had only 3 weeks of practice with my schemes and system, but they're picking it up very well, and you know we're getting better each week.
Binniger, formerly a head coach for Parkersburg Catholic, met Duvall when they both coached at a BACF All-Star game, where they immediately recognized the coaching similarities they shared.
And Coach Duvall, I would like to say, handpicked me to do this because we even though there's years between us, we coach very similar, and that's what we picked up on each other during that BACF time.
While the two coaches may be similar in style, Duvall leaves big shoes to fill after a 50-year-long coaching career at schools like Warren, Parkersburg, and Caldwell, and a reputation as a player's coach who was always willing to help his athletes, even off the field.
It was prevalent day one. Whenever he stepped in, he'd always help the kids out. He made sure the kids were doing good, make sure their grades were up. If they were struggling with money to help pay for something, he'd let them come over, do a couple jobs, get them the money. He was great.
Even still, Duvall attends practices whenever he can as a volunteer assistant, and as the season marches on, the Golden Eagles are quickly adapting to their new leader.
Well, I expect my kids to start, picking up on, my energy, start feeding off of it, because I'm a pretty amped up guy all the time. I would love for my kids to feed off of that and, enjoy the game of football.
For the 740 Zone, I'm Nick Henthorne.
It'll be very interesting to see how that coaching change plays out as the season progresses. Thanks for the good work, Nick. The Golden Eagles even had a tougher opponent on Friday night when they took on the Trimble Tomcats. And these Tomcats had a tough time against Eastern last week. Over 740 Zone reporter Sam Lee-Smith recaps if their offense was firing on all cylinders or not.
The Trimble Tomcats march into Gloucester Stadium, hoping to keep their hot streak alive. Meanwhile, the Belpre Golden Eagles are looking to take the Tomcats by surprise. Trimble's first possession of the game, Tabor Lackey is not messing around. He sends the ball sailing 26 yards into the arms of Blake Guffey. The Tomcats kept the momentum going, and Bryce Downs muscles his way for a touchdown. It's 7-0 Trimble. Moving on to the second quarter, you're not going to believe this. Lackey stuck in a flock of eagles, but is still able to connect with none other than Guffey. There's no looking back now. He's going full speed ahead for an 84-yard touchdown. And you know his boys on the sideline are hyped up. It's 13-0 Trimble. The Tomcats are feeling the magic tonight. Austin Weiser set for the punt return, but it's not looking good. He's got some angry birds headed his way, and he's got to come up with a plan and fast. He puts this defender in a spin cycle and breaks away, setting Trimble up for a Downs 26-yard rushing touchdown. It's 21-0 Trimble. And the Tomcats never hit the brakes tonight, winning this one 41-0. Now, you've heard his name a few times already, but Bryce Downs showed no mercy tonight, scoring 3 touchdowns and racking up 127 rushing yards. Also, the duo of Tabor Lackey and Blake Guffey were unstoppable. Lackey threw for 159 yards, and Guffey received 152 of them, 2 of which were touchdowns. After last week's game, head coach Phil Ferris said the offense needed to find the rhythm, and I think it's safe to say after tonight, they've got it back.
Offensive line was getting a little better and better, so that's, we're really young, so we're going to take that little improvement at a time, and I think that happened tonight. We're playing 3 sophomores and a freshman out there, so it's nice when they start gelling together. They're smart kids, they all enjoy playing, so hopefully we improve as much next week as we did this week.
Trimble will look to keep that momentum going when they take on Southern, while Belpre will look to bounce back against South Gallia. Thanks for the good work, Sam. Now we head over to our voted on game of the week, where we saw the Warren Warriors head over to Logan to take on the Chieftains. And reporter Joe Collins was at this game to catch up on our 7-4-0 zone game of the week.
You're absolutely right, Jacob. This was a huge game for both teams, as both of them were coming off single-digit heartbreaking losses last week, and Logan was looking to pick up a win on their senior night to avoid going 0-3 for the second consecutive year. The team started out by trading turnover on downs, but Warren would strike first as Kurt Taylor would hit Evan Gandy on a flat route, and Gandy gets to the edge and he is off to the races. Say Gandy man 3 times in front of a mirror, and Evan Gandy will appear in the end zone with a touchdown. That one was from 88 yards out. But Logan will respond not even a minute later as Ian Frazier throws his own flat route to Trayton Poling, and receiver Johnny McClellan throws a key block in this play. Don't worry, they said it was legal, and Poling is able to sprint untouched 62 yards to the house. Chieftains tied at 7.
Now for Warren, it seemed like the connection for Kurt Taylor and Evan Gandy was working all night in this game.
Absolutely. It seemed like every time these two connected, good things would happen. In the second, Taylor takes the snap and lobs it towards the end zone, and Gandy steps in front of McClellan for the touchdown grab. And if you're a fan of close-up shots, I'm guessing you love that. Right before the end of the half, Kurt Taylor with a QB draw breaks off of a tackle, runs into a gathering of Chieftains, but somehow spins out of that and dives his way in for the score. What strength shown by the senior QB to give the Warriors a 21-14 lead at the half.
Now in the second half, it wasn't the offensive showdown it was in the first, was it?
That's right. The second half was all about the defense. Both teams came up with some big-time stops to keep the score locked at 21-14, but it was Warren's defense that would come up with the biggest plays. Late in the third, Josh Welch makes an excellent read on the slant route and picks off Ian Frazier's pass. This would set up a pivotal touchdown for the Warriors, as Taylor would lob one to the back of the end zone, and in the perfect spot for Gandy to haul in another one. It's now 28-14 for the Warriors. Logan trying to muster up 2 quick scoring drives, but here Josh Welch deflects the pass at the line, and who else but Evan Gandy to grab the game-clinching INT. What a performance by Gandy. 177 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception on defense. Talk about an impact player. His buddy Kurt Taylor will throw for 266 and have 4 total touchdowns.
Yeah, those kids have been playing together for a long time, and they're on the same page almost all the time as well. So it's the camaraderie they have is special. Kurt's a special kid as well. He made some big time throws tonight when needed. Used his legs at times when needed. We were shuffling guys in and out, guys going down. Kurt had to play some defense, but he hasn't done much. But the bond they have is special.
Logan is now 0-3 on the season. They will try to build some kind of momentum in the second half, while Warren will go to 2-1 as they take on the Megs Marauders next week. Thanks for the good work, Joe. Now we head over with the 7-4-0 zone reporter Will Price, who got to see a revamped Jackson offense.
They have a lot of new players on that side of the ball, but they have still come out of the gates firing, with over 50 points a game in their first 2 contests. I talked to head coach Andy Hall and a few of their key pieces about what they've been able to accomplish so far this season.
The Jackson Ironmen have made a statement early in the season with their dominant offense. Led by sophomore quarterback Jacob Winters, they have put up over 100 points in their first 2 games. One of the biggest reasons for that is junior receiver Tristan Prater, who said he's satisfied with the offensive performance so far this year.
Smooth running right now. We're getting the passing game going, which is really important this year. And I think we just mesh really well right now. We'll get better as the season goes on as well, so we're not our best right now.
Prater started off the season with a bang, with 160 yards and 2 touchdowns against Logan. Head coach Andy Hall said Prater's ability to make plays on the ball and get open is huge for the Ironmen offense.
Well, Tristan's this is his 3rd year starting for us, and so, he kind of understands the lay of the land and how to get open and how to make plays, and he's made some great catches throughout his career.
It's not all about the passing attack for Jackson. In week 2 against McLean, freshman running back Cade Wolford had 5 carries for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wolford said his breakout performance showed him the impact he can have at the high school level.
It gave me a lot more confidence, told me that I can do this and stuff like that. So it was just an eye-opener to see, that I can produce at this level and stuff like that.
Hall said that with only 8 seniors on the Ironmen this year, the most important thing he wants to see out of his team for the remainder of the regular season is constant improvement.
I think every time we get a chance to take the field, it's an opportunity that we need it to accept and get better with, and then hopefully the lessons learned and the improvements will be made. We can make a deep run in the playoffs.
Yeah, what a start to the season for Jackson. They were looking to keep that going against Washington Courthouse in their home opener.
Not just their first home game, but also senior night. Only 8 seniors for this squad, but they were looking to celebrate with a win. Second play for the Ironmen, and it's Evan Spires with the mean stiff arm before being forced out of bounds. And to cap off the drive, it's quarterback Jacob Winters using his legs on a 16-yard scamper. 6-0 Jackson early. Next Courthouse possession, the delayed handoff goes awry and the ball ends up on the turf. Scooped up by Grant Maston, and he'd take it to the doorstep at the 1-yard line. The Ironmen would punch it in on the next play. First play of the second quarter, and it's freshman Cade Wolford getting around the edge and right through the arm tackle. That'll make it 19-0 Ironmen. It wouldn't stop there, as late in the first half, Ethan Rogers-Wright drops back. Pressure coming, and it's senior Traylon Davis who's able to get the strip sack. Jackson would end up on top of the ball, and a few plays later, it's Winters again. This time from 6 yards out, he powers through defenders and into the end zone. That would make it 33-0 to end the first half. There would be a running clock from then on out, and the final score would be 40-7, Jackson win.
Yeah, that Jackson offense sure is explosive. 4 different players went for rushing touchdowns on Friday. What makes them work?
They have a very well-balanced offense that can attack in many different ways. Winters keeps the defense honest with his arms and his legs, and their young offensive line opens up holes for their dynamic duo in the backfield with Wolford and Spires.
Yeah, the Ironman offense has to hit 40 points in every game this year, but the defense has been getting it done too.
100%. Their front dominated the line of scrimmage, as Washington Courthouse was only able to move the chains once the entire first half. They also scored directly off of 2 turnovers and forced 3 total.
It has been a fantastic start to the season for them, but what can they improve on in the second half of the year?
Being more disciplined. That team has lots of talent, but they had some unforced errors on Friday.
Jackson will look to use this as they go into a battle of the 3-0 teams next week when they take on the Miami Trace Panthers. Thanks for the good work, Will. Now, Jackson took care of business on the road, and that's exactly what the Granville Blue Aces were looking to do as well when they took on Licking Valley. And this game would be a classic that came down to the final play. 740 Zone reporter Nick Hanthorne was there to recap all the exciting action.
Licking Valley and Granville both coming into this one 1-1 would face off in Panthers territory, a highly anticipated matchup on Friday, and both teams were trying to establish the run game early, but both defenses were ready for it, swarming to the ball and keeping each other in check. False start penalties from both sides would also keep this game from getting into a rhythm, and as a result, we were scoreless after one quarter. Licking Valley would get their opportunity though. QB Cameron Palmer nearly into the end zone here, not even a minute into the second quarter, and Bodie Creech has the touchdown on a nice out route. He'd make plays on defense too. One interception here of a total of 5 picks between both teams. Turnovers were happening everywhere you look this game. Picks, fumbled punts. It only added to the craziness. But while Granville couldn't get out of the gate, the Panthers would manage to march down again right before the half. Devin McConnell into the end zone. Licking Valley leads 12-0 at halftime.
While the first half might not have had too much action, the second half was a different story. A quarterback change for Granville, and the offenses for both teams picked up.
Blake Ryan, the new quarterback, comes in and gives some life to the Blue Aces offense. The passing game opened up, and Ryan delivered from the jump, and before you know it, Cade McDermott is 52 yards down the field to the house. Granville gets on the board 12-6. Ryan really worked over the middle of the field and to great success, gashing the Licking Valley defense all of a sudden. They'd stay hot. A Devon Valley 1-yard touchdown run in the third would give Granville the lead, and a Keyshawn Bonner blast through the gap would extend it. Granville would lead 20-12 in the fourth quarter. Licking Valley seemed a little dazed, but they got it straightened out the very next drive. The run game would actually start to produce for the Panthers. McConnell and Palmer were racking up yards after contact, and Palmer would keep it himself here around the edge. This one's still up in the air in the final quarter, 20-18 Granville. An interception here would give Licking Valley the chance they needed, but they stalled and things went from bad to worse. A blocked punt could have been recovered for a touchdown, but ruled out the back of the end zone for a safety. Granville leads 22-18. And they'd snag an interception on the Panthers' ensuing drive, milk a ton of clock. Licking Valley would have just 14 seconds to march all the way down the field if they were going to win this one. But this is a good start. A bomb to Denali Harris brings them to the Blue Aces 40, and they'd be able to spike it with 2.7 seconds left. And here's how it ended. Denali Harris wins this one for his team. An incredible catch, an incredible game. Licking Valley wins 24-22 to move to 2-1 on the season.
What a thrilling way it was to end that game. Both teams are now 2-1 as they enter the second half of the season, with their eyes still set on the postseason. Thanks for the good work, Nick. Now in our last game of the week, we head over to Duncan Falls, where 740 reporter Alex Porter saw a battle between two undefeated teams early on in this season, the Philo Electrics and the Tri-Valley Scotties.
Halfway through the regular season, and this Week 3 matchup is coming from two undefeated teams in the MVL, the Tri-Valley Scotties and the Philo Electrics. It would be a showdown between two star running backs in the league, Casey Munyon and Blake Sands. And boy, did those two lead the way for both of their squads. First drive of the game for Philo set the tempo early. The Electrics easily marched down the field and capped it off with Owen Smith finding Eli Preston in the end zone, 7-0 Electrics. It took some time for the three-headed monster of Aiden Fritter, Jordan Panaleo, and Blake Sands to respond, but they attacked Philo with their best weapon, their run game. In the second quarter, the Scotties utilized their balanced offensive attack to march down the field to tie the game. Aiden Fritter would use his arm to find Alex Williams for the TD on the inside corner of the end zone. Score tied 7-7 at halftime.
Coming out of the halftime locker room, the Scotties had a whole nother attitude, and that was led by senior running back Blake Sands. Head coach Cam West spoke highly of the running back and what he was able to do in the second half.
Kept preaching our guys, we need one first down, and Blake Sands was a workhorse for us all night. He got us that first down when we needed it.
And Sands came out swinging right out of the gate in the second half. Not even a minute into the third quarter, Fritter pitches the ball to Sands, and he turns on the jets and tells his defenders, "Eat my dust." That would make the score 14-7 in favor of Tri-Valley. Not long after, the Electric defense would cause a Tri-Valley safety, making the score 14-9, but the Scotties wouldn't allow any more breathing room. Fritter once again would use his arm to find Sands down the sideline for a big gain, setting the Scotties up for an easy touchdown for Luke Hill. Cam West believes his program is in good hands with Fritter, Pantaleo, and Sands at the helm.
They're three really great leaders. Not only are they great football players, but they're great students. They're great leaders. They're kids that I want our young kids looking up to.
And with a close game all the way to the wire, Tri-Valley would come out on top with the 21-16 win over Philo in Duncan Falls to remain undefeated on the season. Reporting for the 740 Zone, I'm Alex Porter.
With that big win for the Scotties, that means only them and their rival Sheridan are the only undefeated teams left in the MVL. We'll have coverage from that big game when we get to it. Thanks for the good work, Alex. And that will be all from us here at the 740 Zone. Be on the lookout this week on our social media pages, on our Twitter page, and on our Facebook page as well for any new posts that we come out with. And maybe you can vote on the next game of the week for this upcoming Friday night. We'll see you all next week.